You're one hair on the same head, on the same body. It seems like we're disconnected, but we're one and the same. Boom, we're here. We are here. If you're listening, rate the podcast, rate and share. We want to connect with you. That's all we're trying to do. Shooting heart laser beams at you. That's all we're doing. Like Care Bears. Feel my heart. I have a heart on my hat too. You know, that's all we're trying to do. If you're listening, also you can watch on Big Moon TV. So what's going on, man? How you living? He gave me a thumbs up. He's living fine. So what's going on? So today's a simple. Those beats are fire. Today's a simple. I have 2 lines, and we're gonna riff off 2 lines. But we've been doing these in this program, and we've been doing these exercises to connect with one another. And I heard somewhere, I forget where I heard this, but we're not separate. Just like each single hair is part of one body, despite the illusion of separateness. So we're each individually hairs in the same body, you know. And I really find that, especially with sponsorship in 12-step, you know what I mean? Like, some guy tells me some crazy shit, and I'm like, yo, me too. I'm gonna wave at you. What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? If you're listening, we're going live, so we're saying hello to people. But yeah, we're all connected here. We're all connected here. Sometimes I feel like I'm on an island, you know. That goes back to that's that terminal uniqueness. Terminal uniqueness. I feel like I'm special in some regard. I feel like there's something unique about me that separates me from the crowd. And in certain circumstances, yes, that may be the case, right? Like, you may be a standout person. But you're equally connected to the consciousness of the crowd, you know? And that's where I get into trouble in business. I started making a lot of money. And this is a lesson I got to learn over the last 6 months since we've incorporated the Mental Health and Sober Advocacy Group. I've gotten to, see what success looks like. Thina, chill out. That's my pit bull tripping out. But I've gotten to see what success looks like. And what's up, dog? I got to see what success looks like. And you know what happens to me when I get successful? I get self-important. I start thinking I'm the man, you know. The humility goes out of the window. And you know, one of my primary principles in life, and one thing I'm always, chasing, one thing I'm always searching to maintain is a level of humility, you know. Because addicts and alcoholics, people like us, they say egomaniacs with an inferiority complex. I'm either the best thing on the fucking planet or I'm the worst thing on the planet. There's no in between. And when I'm making a ton of money, I start thinking I'm the fucking man. I got 2 chains on. Don't you know I'm the fucking man? Don't you know? You know what I mean? And when I put, it's interesting when you run a business, your hands have to be on the business, right? Like, your hands have to be on it. You're the one at the helm. You're the one at the helm. You're making the decisions. For me, I set up a support team. I have a full staff on the back end that supports. I don't have to do everything on my own, but you have to make decisions. And in 12-step, they talk about when we put our hands on things, when we're playing actor, director, stagehand, lighting, when we're controlling it all, we seem to be coming into collision with life. And it happens in my business when I put my hands all over it, and I start, getting self-important. That ego comes in. I start thinking I'm the star of the show. Not only the star of the show, but only if you would act right, only if you would behave the way I wanted you to behave, things would just work out. And sometimes I use kindness to masquerade that. Sometimes I use service to masquerade that, to get you to do what I want. I'm like, it's manipulative. But anyway, point being, I try to manage situations, and I just, make a mess. I come into collision with life and my peers. So what I have to remember is that I'm a man amongst men, a human amongst humans. I'm no special. I'm no different. I am one hair connected to the same body, and that's what, I think we should all take an opportunity to remember. Dina, chill out, baby girl. She's clickety-clacking all over here. But I think that's an opportunity for us all to remember that we're all one, and that we haven't talked about God in a long time on the podcast. But, if you, for just some, I don't even say wisdom, because I want to be humble about it, and I don't want to make it seem like I know something that others don't. But if we have a hard time with the God concept, understand that there's a collective consciousness that binds us, and that collective consciousness is more powerful than us. Have you ever been to a concert? You ever been to a concert, and when you're in a concert with 50,000 people all dancing and waving and like swaying at the same time, that is church. That was church to me when I was growing up. That was church to me. I was like, okay, there's something metaphysical happening, It might have been all the ecstasy, maybe, But I was just talking to a friend. I take all those ecstasy and psilocybin and those psychedelic trips. I take those very seriously. I don't look at those as just synthetic experiences. I look at those. Yes, they were synthetic experiences, and where the absence of God is in the needing for more and the wanting for more. But what I look at those experiences as were acute spiritual experiences that allowed me to, get plugged into the matrix, get plugged into humanity acutely, but point being, when you're in that collective movement, like I've been to Stagecoach, there's a country festival. I don't like country, but when you're with 50,000 people, listening to country and vibing out, it's a vibe. It's undeniable, and that's why, there's it's like being in, I'm not a Christian either, and I felt the same experience when I would go to church, and I love that I was able to be open-minded enough to not be a Christian and still go to church and appreciate the God consciousness within, and any spiritual place of worship. But when you go to church, I've almost passed out. Whether you think Christianity is real or not. There's something happening in the collective consciousness, that's profound. I've been prayed for and like literally almost fell and was like, whoa, I don't believe in this shit, but I'm experiencing it, and it's real. And the atmosphere changes, and there's something even in ALA, there's something with being in a container with people who are all like-minded on a similar mission, in a similar growth process, in the safe container. There's something that there's a vibration that you're all having. There's a vibration and an energy. None of us are, crying about it. We're all in solution. We're all positive. We're all looking at what life provides for us. We're all understanding that life is working in our favor. So there's a collective consciousness, and I think that's on a grander scale. It's on a grander scale, and a human, in humanity. And I think we have to really look into that and then really pay attention to that. So if we have a hard time, I say God because it's easy, and I've said that on this podcast ad nauseum. I say God because it's just an easy way to say it, because you can go to any country on the planet and say God, and people know what you're talking about. People know what you're talking about. So God's easy to say. God doesn't have to be white Jesus, because I definitely don't believe in white Jesus. If you skip this one, I appreciate it. If you listen to the podcast audio on iTunes, you'll hear the music. We're playing a Harry Fraud playlist. we'll probably get flagged on YouTube, but who gives a fuck? But yeah, if you have a hard time with the God thing, just first of all, get over the word. I think we're smart enough at this point to remove the connotation from a word. Separate it. And you know what? I was talking to Steven today, one of my best friends. I was talking to him, and we were talking about God today. Working through his steps, working through his recovery process. Fuck, I forgot my point. When you talk this much, it's hard not to forget your point. My phone locked. Fuck. Let's see if I'm still going live. Oh, I'm still live. There we go. I forgot my point with the God thing. But yeah, if you have difficulty with it, just understand the collective consciousness is keeping us all connected. And you can feel it acutely when you go to places of worship. You can feel it acutely when you go to a festival and everybody's feeling joy. When joy is just immensely in the crowd. When joy is immensely in the community. You can come in there angry as fuck, like, and then you start to fucking bob your head a little bit. Start bobbing your head a little bit. And it's like, oh shit, I'm feeling a little bit of joy. Uh-oh. Now I'm tapping my foot. Uh-oh. Now I'm fucking dancing. Now I'm dancing. You know what I mean? So, let's not forget that we're all connected here. And I have to remind myself of that. Because I feel like I'm an alien sometimes. But then sometimes, like I said, I feel like I'm in direct fellowship. That's why I love 12-step. You know what I mean? That's why I love identifying as a drug addict and an alcoholic. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like I'm a part of, you know what I mean? Community is important. I've said this before. I might have said this on a podcast most recently, but in indigenous cultures, when people deal with substance abuse or depression, they surround them with community and purpose. They give people work to do. They give people a way to make a living, and they surround them with love and affection of the community. And that goes very far. And being in the ALA container, that's what it gives us. We've all been given our own individual purpose. We've all been able to explore our own individual vision, and within that vision, we have this community who supports us going through that, and experiencing that vision. And what's the word? Bringing that vision into fruition. So. You can skip this one too. This one is a little too hype. But yeah, it's important, man. It's important. I was talking to Steven, going back to the God thing, me and Benny were talking about this years ago. Every single one of us, whether it be at many phases of our life, will contemplate and try to articulate what God is in our lives. Even an atheist is thinking of what God is in their life or what God isn't. That's dogmatic, and that's their religion in itself. Their religion to have no religion, to have no God, but they're still contemplating it. You know what I mean? So we all get to experience that. For me, life would be pretty lonely without understanding that there's something looking out for me. A big thing I've been saying recently is divine timing. Divine timing. I really believe everything in my life is exactly where it's supposed to be in this moment. Doing this live, no matter how many people are watching, what's up to everybody who's watching? But it's all divine timing. I'm doing the exact thing. I'm saying the exact thing that I'm supposed to say in this current moment, and that there would have been nothing I can do to change it. That's a trip. That's some weird shit to go down. That's some fucking Matrix shit, But yeah, just gotta be where you're at. And I'll meet you where you're at. A lot of people try to change people's trajectory. I'm not trying to change your trajectory. I'm trying to support you where you are. Hold space for you. That's important. I never talk about what my interventions look like. I never really go into it, but in that process, that's all I'm doing is holding space. That's all I'm doing is holding space with my sponsees and with everybody. I'm just holding space, you know. Well, how we doing on time? 15? But yeah, man, you know, we're not separate. We're not separate, you know. I think so much would be solved if we realized that we're not separate, you know. All the political conversations I've been able to have over the years, you know, usually people want the same thing, you know. I haven't talked about politics on this podcast in a while either. Thank God. Talked about politics too much. It was like, fuck Donald Trump every week. It was like, geez, you know, it's a little exhausting. But hold on, let me let that bitch breathe. But yeah, I love you, Mandy. She's a good girl. Mandy's the shit. So let me talk about Mandy real quick. Mandy has been holding down this podcast for years now. She's been holding, like, Canada shows love. Canada shows love to the things that I put out there, and I really appreciate the love in Canada. They're just nicer people. People in America aren't all about this love shit. This love shit's nonsense to American people. They're like, get that fucking hippy dippy shit out of here, you know. Yeah, Canadians get it, but we're connected, man. I'm you and you're me, you know. I just got to keep my ego out of it. Just got to keep my ego out of the play, you know, out of play is what I meant. But in an intervention, going back to holding space, my phone keeps locking me out. Going back to holding space, you know, doing an intervention, that's all I'm really doing for people. You know, we do the pre-intervention, which is holding space for the family, right? We allow, in a Zoom call or in person, we allow the family to express where they are and their frustrations in the current moment in a productive manner, you know, in a productive manner. I don't allow us to allow the family to insult each other or talk down to each other, because that's not what we're there to do, even though there's family frictions, you know. But anyway, my job, hold space, you know, let everybody express themselves in a productive manner. So that's pre-intervention. And intervention is holding space for the addict. You know, this is loving interruption. This is a loving interruption. This isn't something that's happening to them. If they are willing to take a look, this is happening for them. And this is a love letter from each and every one of their family members. You know, when my mom said to me, Eric, you can never come home to New York again. Like, we love you, but you're not welcome here. When she said that to me, that was the most loving thing she could have done for me. It's loving interruption. Loving interruption. You know? So, just holding space, man. Just holding space. So what else is going on? Training is on point. I'm getting fatter, though. That's the weird thing. I'm training and my belly's getting bigger. It's because I'm eating more. And can you turn the music down a little bit? Initially, when I started training, I was like, yo, I'm about to get super lean. I'm about to be a skinny guy. And that's not what my body wants. And I encourage people, like, when you train, whether you choose weightlifting, like, your body wants certain things, you know. Your body definitely doesn't want to be fat. I'm sorry. You know, your body does not. You have to try to do that. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. You have to try, but not try. It's very easy to get fat. See whatever you want, but you have to, like, not give a fuck, which is a thing. You have to, like, intentionally not give a fuck, which I've been there. Sometimes I'm there. I've been up to 300 pounds, so I get it. It's pretty easy to get fat, but you got to be like, I don't give a fuck. And there's a decision that's made. But my body does what it wants, and I kind of lean into what my body wants. Right now, my body wants to lift heavy shit and put it back down, and that's what I do. And that's what's bringing me relief right now. And I'm being, you know, I'm consistent without trying, very little effort of my own, you know. But it's divine timing. If I would have tried to work out a year ago, it would have been a fight because I wasn't ready. And that's another important point. I was reading with Stephen. Only when we are entirely ready to make changes in our life are we willing to do it. With the desperation of a drowning man, it doesn't have to be alcoholism that brings you to your bottom. It doesn't have to be. It could be your job. It could be your job that's drowning you. And you got to save your life. It could be that relationship. It could be, so many things that are drowning you. But you can shift. You can make a decision. You can break through. That's one thing. I'm an expert. I'm an expert at breaking through shit. It's one thing I'm good at. I'm an expert of growth. It's probably one of my hobbies. This is the whole podcast is about, is just growing. It's probably one of my biggest hobbies is just working on myself. It feels good to break through old behaviors. It feels good to break through lose the person who you used to be. The person I was 3 months ago is no longer available to you. It's no longer available to you. It's ways of being. That's in the circles I'm in, that's the big topic of conversation is ways of being. Who you be, son. Who you be. And who I was is different from who I be today. And who I am today is different than who I was a year ago. And who I was at 27 is so different than who I am today at 31. It's a different person, man. It's just a different person. You know what I mean? And you got to be dedicated to change, dedicated to growth. And I've said this on the podcast before. If you're not about that growth life, if you're not about like working on your toxicity, if you're not about, a growth process, you could miss me. You can miss me all the way. I know there's a lot of joking about toxic boys on the way up and blah, blah, blah. But I spent a lot of years being toxic, and a lot of women, were traumatized. A lot of people. I've changed the way some women view men forever. And if I haven't, if I'm just thinking of myself too importantly, then maybe, but the chance that I have changed the way someone views men and their experience and their lack of trust in themselves and their lack of trust in men in general. If I have that effect on people, that's not who I want to be. And it's crazy because that's who I was in my 20s, man. But I came right off the streets, dog. Y'all did the podcast with Canali. Canali was more civilized than I was. I wasn't civilized at all, and no fault of my parents. I was simply a goon. I was fresh off the street, man. Fresh off the street, and it took me well into my sobriety to like get to the point where I had to understand it wasn't about me. It's about others. It's about how can I serve others. This is Easy Riff podcast. See, so if the people on live and the people listening, I don't come on here. I came on here with two sentences. And we just start talking. That's how this podcast goes. It's not planned out. It's just me talking to myself. Matt's over here supporting me. What's good, Matt? Shout out to Matt, who's always held it down. It's important to have a real team, because all I do is talk to myself, and Matt makes everything else happen. If I've done anything right, I've assembled a good team of people to create the brand and to stay, continuous with where the brand is supposed to be. And man, I'm so lucky. But anyway, this is how a podcast goes. I write 2 sentences down, and then I see where my brain goes. See where it goes. But ultimately, if we're going to wrap it up, it's 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we're going to wrap it up. Just remember, you're one hair on the same head, on the same body. It seems like we're disconnected, but we're one and the same. We're one and the same. At least I want to believe so. I don't want to feel like an alien anymore. I hate that feeling when I feel like I'm alone. When I feel like it's, just me floating on a rock. I hate that feeling. All I ever wanted was to, I asked somebody today, what's your biggest fear? And she expressed her biggest fear. And she asked me what my biggest fear was. And I said, rejection. And she was like, oh, that I didn't know we were going like on a micro level. And I was like, no, there's a big level there. It's like not being accepted by the world, not being accepted with my podcast, not being accepted in the communities, the sober communities, not being accepted even by women, not being accepted by my son's mom, it's just, that is my biggest fear and my biggest, like, that brings me the most acute pain on a regular basis. The just feeling of not being wanted. Man, that shit hurts. But, I'm working past that. We're growing up. And, just because you have a fear doesn't mean you don't put yourself out there. Let me let that bitch. I put way too many greens in this drink, and it's definitely a green drink. So anybody watching live, this is how you see. This is how the podcast goes. It's not fucking no scripted, no like empowerment woo-woo. We're just talking about what's on our hearts, And today I just wanted to talk about connectedness and the collective conscious. Even in a 12-step meeting, it can be so religious at some points, which I don't enjoy. But there's a collective conscious in a room when there's a good meeting and everybody's focused on a good speaker and everybody shares from their heart. It's like, whoa, we can all feel there's an atmosphere in this space. So I would encourage you, find communities, find spaces where you feel connected. We'll wrap it up on that. So if you're listening, rate, share, subscribe, do all that. We love you. And if you're listening, you could also watch on Big Mood TV. Matt does a great job with the video. We're on TikTok now. We got workout content on there. Short. We put our long podcast clips on Instagram, on IGTV, but they're shorter, more intimate podcast clips on TikTok. Also, join the Big Mood community. We're creating a little community space where I'll usually take a topic from a podcast that I've done in the past and riff on it and open for discussion, or open just to leave a message. So if you want to pass by and be a part of the little Facebook community, get on there. It's all about connection. It's all it's about. It's the best part of life. It's the best part of life. It's feeling communion with the world. It's the best part of life. So we'll wrap it up there. All right. Peace.